What's going on, everybody? Welcome in again to another edition of the Voice of Camp Nathanael. Stephen Bell here along with
Lee Sharp.
Man, how you doing?
Doing pretty good today.
That's good. That's good. And now we're getting ready to run right into the summer with just tons of ministry happening. But man, I'm excited today because we got a guest in the studio with us.
We do have a guest.
Yeah, from time to time, we bring in guests a lot, talk about a lot of stuff that's going on, dive into Scripture together, really heavy. But today we get to focus on a ministry that we've been in partner with to come in and do a lot of community ministry here with camp, and that happens a lot, doesn't it?
It really does. It's the amount of connections that camp has made over 90 plus years of serving the Lord is you make a lot of friends.
You do. You make a lot of really good friends. And so over the years, we've had tons of different ministries come in through the doors here to partner with us in, like we said, community type ministry, ministry done here on campus. But we're really excited because we've had the opportunity this time around to partner with, and I'm going to let him explain a little bit about this here in just a second, because when you say something like perception artist, for a lot of people that's like, well, what in the world is that? So we're gonna have that discussion, but we want everybody to make welcome our guest this morning or this evening or whenever you're listening to a podcast, because that's the way podcasts work.
It could be 3:30 in the morning.
It could be, and in that case, why are you up? All right.
Go to bed.
You got six kids like me.
Unless you're working right now and you just happen to have the podcast on the background, and then we're glad to be here with you.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Hey, let's make welcome Mr. Sean Emory this morning, or this. We've already been through that spiel. Sean, say hi.
Hey. Hey guys.
That was like the worst intro ever. So, all right, it's time to get to discuss. Sean's been with us for a few weeks. How do you like camp, man?
It's all right.
Oh, whatever.
It's great. It's really great.
It's all right.
Admittedly, he's been hanging out with us when it's been a bit, the weather has been acting, well, like Kentucky weather does, where it's like 70 one week and then it switches down and it's been snowing.
Yeah,
and
for the record.
And it does all of that. So,
For the record, when he got here, it was in the 70s, and on the morning that we're recording this podcast, it's snowing outside. So
yeah, that's my bad.
Is that your bad?
Yeah.
You brought that with
I think if you're from Kentucky, this is kind of par for the course. So I'm from Kentucky, so I get it. I've lived through, the constant, Revelation chapter 13, chapter 4, like we've done that Bible study.
Right.
But if you're not from Kentucky, and like if you're just your first time here, it's pretty. Yeah, your body doesn't really know what to do.
It doesn't, does it?
No. Nope.
But that creates a perfect segue, actually, because Sean's gonna share a little bit about his story, just the unique ministry that God has gifted him with and called him to, and how that fits into just his ministry that really goes worldwide. And we're gonna talk about all of that, and then how you can get more information on his ministry and stuff along those lines. So let's start with that, because. You're from Dallas. You're living in Dallas, but you're not from Dallas originally.
Right. I'm actually from Kentucky. In Kentucky, we talk counties.
That's right, we do.
120. You got to know them all. And so I'm from Muhlenberg County, and no one here actually knows of Muhlenberg. I think we've had 4 people.
In the 2 weeks that you've been here,
yeah,
about 4
amongst
people.
like 100 square miles. I don't know.
Yeah, really.
I said, "Hey, it's made from Muhlenberg County. Have you heard of it?" Nope. Just
we had one person that used to live there. That was from Muhlenberg County.
Yeah, and you know what they said? I don't know if you heard it or not.
I didn't hear it.
I asked them, "Hey, have you anybody from Muhlenberg County?" And they said, "Yeah," and they raised their hand, and then they just shouted in public, "I hate Muhlenberg County."
Oh, no.
Oh no! So if there's anybody from Muhlenberg,
we
love you.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
we love you.
Oh man, that's my family you're talking about.
Don't send us emails.
All right. So you're born and raised in Muhlenberg County. Just tell us how things went, man. Tell us kind of how you let you introduce the type of ministry that you do. Like we said, perception artist. Kind of fill us in. Start us in Muhlenberg County and kind of bring us up to where God's got you.
Man, I am the quintessential black sheep of the flock.
Okay.
And so that really defines my entire upbringing, my whole childhood, everything. My family is really high military, and I'm the first non-military I'm the one who broke the line.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And would have gone that route, but whenever I was 16, God very clearly opened a door to do ministry through this art form that I call perception art. And so, yeah, I didn't really have a lot of other stuff going on, just with my circumstances. I grew up, pretty relatively poor, kind of in a really rough area. And so, yeah, there just wasn't the same opportunities that a lot of my friends had. And I didn't really know what I was going to do. But long story short, God just made it crystal clear, very evident. So it's more of a boring story than most people realize. I was
going to ask, how did Jesus enter the equation here?
Well, that part's actually pretty exciting.
Okay.
Yeah. The whole perception artist part's pretty boring, but that's pretty exciting. I actually got saved at an old school revival.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are we talking like tents, or are we talking just in the church, or are we?
So it was kind of a both. I remember going to the tents, and that was kind of the beginning of the sewing process for me. And then I think the culminating night, it was in a old ag center.
Okay.
It's a situation. So
okay.
Not really a building.
Are we talking 2-week long every night revival type style?
Oh yeah, used to go to those a lot.
Yeah.
Used to go to those a lot. So I think this was a week long type thing, and it was Brother Dole. Brother Dole. We call him. We pronounce it Dole.
Dole,
but it's Doyle.
Doyle. Okay.
Doyle. Yeah. So,
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So
Nice.
shared the gospel at 9 years old and got saved. Just crying, broken over sin, and there was a desperation, but it was a good desperation. I think that's something a lot of people kind of struggle with. It wasn't fire insurance. I wasn't scared of going to hell or anything like that. But it was it was just very clear that my life was, I'm just so small, I'm a speck, and God is so big and he's good. And so, I need him. I need him. Or there's nothing else. So, yeah, a good desperation.
And praise God for preachers who preach with gospel clarity. Yeah, that's it seems to be less and less of that so much anymore. But yeah, all right, man. All right. Your God saves you at the age of 9. Now, when does the ministry really take off as far as perception art? And I need to ask a question because I've been hanging out with you for the past 2 weeks and I haven't asked this question yet. Did you coin the phrase perception art, or did you take that from somebody?
No, I'm not a thief.
Okay.
Stephen. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Listen, man, in ministry, we reuse everything, all right? There are very few original ideas and everything.
There is nothing new under the sun.
Look, you just made that biblical.
Jesus juke. All right.
That was a Jesus juke right there.
We coined it. My wife Andrea,
Very cool.
She has been with me really since the early days, and she and I kind of coined it because we are running into the problem of when you say magic or even illusionist, what I tell people all the time is you get 2 responses, and both of them put you on 2 different stereotype kind of paths, right?
Yeah.
One group says, "Oh, that's witchcraft or black magic or you name it." And admittedly, the stuff I'm doing is it can be pretty shocking, and so it just
crazy.
reinforces it,
Yeah.
But then on the other side, you say magic or illusion, and then you get people saying, "Oh, my 3-year-old would love that."
Mm-hmm.
Your 3-year-old would not love it. Your 3-year-old would need counseling.
Listen,
In both of these categories, neither one of them sound ideal.
No, no.
neither one of them legitimately fit the category that he's talking about. Because I can attest to this, having seen how many shows now? 12. I think 12 of your shows up to this point in the past 2 weeks. So yeah. So
would you hire me to do your children's birthday party, Stephen?
My children are a unique, group of people. But no, I understand in the context of what you're saying, because you're talking about everything from, we say card tricks, but we're not talking just little card tricks that you can learn. We're talking stuff that takes skill. Intense time to develop this craft to be able to make people, as you say, lie to themselves that they're seeing something that's not really there, or something along those lines, right?
Yeah. That's why we coined perception artists, because it solved a problem. Is that, when you kind of come out and you say, oh, magician, magic, illusion, you say all these buzzwords. They're all really loaded terms today. Well, already I'm fighting a battle before they've even seen me do anything. And so by picking a phrase or a term or a title like perception artist, it's intriguing enough that people go, what is that?
Of course.
But there's no way for them to kind of stereotype me. There's no way for them to define it. And that now allows me to define what I do instead of letting them, judge me.
Smart move.
Yeah. It's been a rocky road. Yeah, as we've seen, some people,
man.
they just
you kind of had to break that down to whoever's doing the introduction and stuff when you do these performances, because they're no doubt going to go that route, unless they have that conversation prior.
I think I had somebody introduce me recently, and they did a perfect job. It was absolutely perfect. I mean, they're I'm getting ready to walk out in front of a show, and then it's like, man, they're just nailing all the points. Sean he spent years doing all this, blah blah blah. And he's, perception artist, he's going to mess with your mind. And then at the very end, they go, so like an illusionist. It just wrecked it.
Oh, man.
And from what I've been told, the word illusionist is it's a bad word here, because we're not going for illusions, because it's not an illusion.
No.
Illusions
don't hurt when you do them.
Because the stuff you do is real.
It is real, man. Because listen, here's the thing, and I know you may be listening to this and thinking, okay, so what is it that he does? Tell me something that he does in a program. Well, if I were to just sit here and you hear me say, okay, he hammers a nail through his nose.
How many listeners did you just lose?
Well, you've got listeners that are like, what in the world? And click. And then you've got ones that are like, go on. You have my attention.
Tell me more.
So you actually, because this is another conversation that we've had, you actually studied with guys who do like sideshow stuff, like carnival folk.
Yeah. Carnies, yeah. Yeah. So that's another thing, so we call it perception art because it just encompasses so much. That's not actually one thing. So, an illusionist does illusions.
Yep.
And that's it really, And so a magician does tricks, and that's kind of its own thing. But I mean, I'm pulling from so many different things. So, so example, I do some illusions, but then I also do sideshow stunts, which are just 100% real. There's no trick. There's no illusion. It's just that is what is happening. Well, then I'm also doing things like applied psychology, where I'll get somebody on stage and we'll just mess with it.
And that's crazy,
read
man.
a person.
Lee, that is crazy. I mean, it really is. To see him sit here and analyze somebody and hit the nail on the head almost every time. It's pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah, and just so incorporating all those different elements. I mean, there's pickpocketing techniques and sleight of hand, and that's not really an illusion. No. I mean, that's crime. And so
that's a crime.
Yeah. And so we're just pulling from all these things, including theater, and we're kind of giving it a platform in the form of a show. And this whole kind of thing operates as a vehicle to get us to the gospel.
That was where I was going next, because because when people hear, okay, I've got pickpocketing, I've got sideshow stunts, I've got mind manipulation, stuff like this, these kind of terms that we're using. Okay, how are these things being used ultimately? Because you're not doing this to, obviously, no crimes are being committed, nothing like that. None of this is being done unlawfully at all. But it is being done for the greater purpose of the gospel, the spread of the gospel. So let's talk about that now. How has this served the purpose of advancing the kingdom, not just locally, but around the world?
Yeah. Well, in the simplest way I can put it, it engages people. It engages them intellectually. It engages them emotionally. It engages people socially. What I tell people is, not everyone likes rap music. Not everybody likes football. Everybody freaks out. Everybody freaks out.
Yep.
And so this art form allows us to create or reveal a person's vulnerability, not in a bad way. We're not embarrassing people, but it gets a group of people who would never hang out together.
Mm-hmm.
We're creating laughter. We're creating, amazement. We're doing all this stuff. And because of what I'm doing is based in the world of deception, but I'm not using it to deceive.
Right.
I'm actually taking deception and I'm using it to reveal. So it's kind of backwards. So I'm undoing the tangled knot that a lie does.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, is a really powerful tool because, especially in Christianity, we're all about light. We're all about truth, sharing the gospel. Well, what better view? I mean, when people look at me and they say, oh, crime, like I'm doing things, like pickpocketing or violence with the stunts
right.
or manipulating a person psychologically. What do you think the world does?
Oh, gosh. Every day.
In movies,
everything.
in
Yep.
music, and they celebrate it.
Yep.
Well, I'm not celebrating it. I'm showing it. I'm pulling the wool away from my eyes and saying, look, what you just saw me do happened 100 times today, and you didn't even realize it.
That's right. Yeah, it's an awesome. It really is an awesome concept, and it is such a unique form of ministry because it's just like you said. It's when you're in a world full of brokenness, and everything is coming at you in such a deceptive way. What you're doing is you're taking that deception and you're turning it the opposite direction, and you're just like, okay, well, if we're being deceived in this way, then let's turn back the deception to reveal what's really there.
Yeah, I'm just pointing at it.
That's really killer, man.
Yeah, I didn't make it. I didn't create it. I'm just pointing it. Hey, look.
Yeah.
There it is.
This is what's there because that is something that, let's talk as a parent, as a father. That's something that I'm constantly trying to get my kids to realize is that, look, every single thing that you see, every single thing that you listen to, and I'm not saying these things are inherently bad, but everything is trying to influence you in some way. Everything is. And you've got to be able to identify how things are influencing you and then ask yourself the question, what is truth? What is reality at that point? Mm-hmm. And we have to come back to the gospel. That has to be our foundation. So, man, I'm excited as to how God's going to continue to use this ministry. Now, real quick, where all has God opened the door for you to be able to do this type of ministry at?
Yes.
That's the correct answer.
Just all of them.
All of them. Yeah, can I have a multiple choice?
All of the doors.
Because I know for a fact you've told me you've been around the world, and actually, when you leave here, when you leave camp, you're heading overseas again. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when I first started, I didn't know that I was going to do this as a ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So just a quick little tangent. I started when I was 16, and I had a knack for it. So like I said, it's actually kind of boring. I somehow just had this crazy knack for this. It just kind of came natural to me. So by the time I was 17, I'd actually made money doing it. Mm-hmm. As a high schooler, I made enough money that I went to Vegas by myself and studied with the guys in Vegas. So I studied with Chris Angel, Lance Burton, he's from Kentucky.
Really?
Another guy named Matt King, he's from Kentucky. And so,
what is it with Kentucky and all this stuff,
man? Everywhere. We're everywhere. We have monopolized
apparently
greatness.
So.
There you go.
And so, I'm going to study with these guys, and it's cool because they're pouring into me on kind of a micro level. And so anyway, I had no idea I was going to do this as a ministry. I thought it was going to be, I'm going to do a show, someday in Vegas, or I'll be on TV, like whomever. Well, fast forward, right? That like a few years later, that's when I started seeing the possibility for ministry. And as it was actually in my student group at church, they played a video. This is so great, right? You're gonna love this. They played a video. You'd get these, DVDs. This was in the 90s. You guys know what DVDs are?
Yes.
This is in the 90s, yeah. Or early 2000s, yeah. And so they played this video, and it'd have several different clips, and it would sort of be like a student ministry kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, one of the clips, they'd interview these interesting people. Well, one guy was doing card tricks, and check this out. He was doing card tricks, I kid you not, at Morehead State University.
No way.
Yes, at Morehead State University, just up the road from here, really, just a few hours.
A little bit less than 2 hours.
Yeah. Yep. And I didn't know that at the time, but they're showing a clip of a video of this guy, and he's traveling all over. And he just does card tricks and he shares the gospel, and he does it at college campuses. And everyone in my youth group turned to me and said, "Sean, you should do that." And that was like the first time. His name was Tennyson, but that was the first time that I ever realized, whoa, I've never considered doing that.
Wow, okay.
In that way. So that was really the first step. So since then, I've been able to travel all over the world. And, we got to that fork in the road where it was like, okay, do we operate as a business, which is really kind of like what a lot of people were doing, or do I go the route of missionary? And that's where my wife and I chose to operate as a missionary. And
you guys are supported.
We have donors. We are a nonprofit C3. It's called Mirage Ministries. It's kind of a clever name.
And the people who listen to this podcast, the people familiar with camp, they're going to understand all about what that's like, because everybody here at camp is supported in the exact same way.
And I think that's great.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's great. Yeah, and it creates humility. And it also creates. Here's what I'll say: spiritual warfare is real, and it happens in ways people don't realize.
Preach.
Whenever we're traveling and we're going, in 2 weeks we're going to go to Nicaragua. We're taking a team of a few people from different states. Anybody who wants to go, by the way, I tell them, hey, come with me.
Let's go, Lee.
Follow me on Instagram.
Let's go right
I'll
now.
take you somewhere.
Everybody else can handle the stuff around here. Let's go.
I think they'll be all right.
They'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm a liability on mission trip. I just want to be honest. Life insurance is a good thing to have.
Probably. There you go.
I go off trail, and so my wife hates it. Anyway, all that to say, so we're going to Nicaragua, taking a team in a few weeks, and when spiritual warfare comes, believe it or not, I will have people who will text me and say, "Hey, I prayed for you this morning," and in their mind, it's probably random, but God times it so well. And I've had people sign up to give at 3 a.m. Because I prayed at midnight and I was like, God, we need help. And it's like, what? Who was up at 3 a.m. and decided I need to give somebody a whole bunch of money real quick, So that happens all the time.
Yeah, man. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So there's also a small thing in there in God using things that you enjoy and things that you're good. There's something beautiful about the idea of being like, hey, I really like to do these perceptions, mind games and all this sort of stuff. And God's like, yes, and you're going to do it for me.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
There's just something really cool about just using that and then God's provision. I don't know why 3 a.m. gets brought up a lot on this podcast.
It does, doesn't it?
It really does. Apparently, Jesus is doing a lot of extra work at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Sean, we're getting ready to wrap things up here. Obviously, we want to be able to get people in touch with your ministry, and again, camp is we're here because of donors. There may be somebody listening to this right now that says, "Hey, I want to jump on the Mirage Ministries bandwagon and be part of what God's doing there around the world." How do people go about getting in touch with your ministry? How do they go about seeing kind of what you do? And maybe, just maybe, if God's laying upon someone's heart to maybe supporting your ministry, whether it be prayerfully, financially, what have you, how do they go about doing that?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, Stephen. Yeah, so here's the thing. We travel, we go to other countries, and so anytime that we're doing a mission trip, that's a huge need because we don't, obviously we're going to places that aren't popular. So that's the thing. We don't go, I say that, our trips aren't really commercial, like we're not going and we're not doing, things that most people would do on a mission. We kind of go in, and I think this trip to Nicaragua, I can't talk too much about it, but we're going to an unreached city.
Oh, wow.
Totally unreached, and this city is actually a trafficking hub port. It's a port city. Yeah, and
that's huge.
We're working with the missionaries, and we're kind of going in a little bit under the radar, so we have to be kind of quiet. We have to be kind of mindful of things like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So those are the kind of trips we're going on, and we're taking people from all over. There's always a need there. But when people ask us where we're missionaries to, we tell them we're missionaries to the American church. And so that's what I want to say more than anything else, is that that's where we are called. Sometimes we wish we were called somewhere cool, like Australia or Hawaii.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But my wife and I both are called to the American church. We grew up in the American church, and we see it. We see the problems, and we see the struggles, and we see how, it can be so easily manipulated and infiltrated. And so that's the bulk of what we do. We go to churches and we share the gospel to people who are religious or churched, but maybe not born again, maybe not saved.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Big time.
So that's really the heart of our ministry. If people want to get in touch, they want to know more, my website is the best place to do it. It's SEAN. Sean is spelled the right way.
There we go.
All right. EMORY, SeanEmory.com. And we've got a tab on there, missions, donate, things like that. We have a newsletter. Sweet. Yeah. So
nice. And you got social media hookups as well, right?
We do. We have a MySpace and just
Please
kidding.
No. You don't have a MySpace.
Just kidding. No, we've got Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's all just Sean Emory. As a matter of fact, we have a viral video. We've been on TV a couple times. If you go to YouTube,
your wedding proposal.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Yeah, go to YouTube, type Sean Emory, just my name, SEANEMORY. Just type magic proposal because that's what they call it.
Because didn't they have you like on USA Today and all that stuff?
Yeah, that was all over the newspapers. Good Morning America had us on.
Good Morning America, yeah.
Yeah, and ironically enough, that whole thing was in Kentucky. Filmed in Kentucky, took place in Kentucky, yeah.
Well, who knew, man? Look at that. Yeah.
Plus, you get to see the woman behind all this.
Right.
My wife, Andrea, yeah. Yep.
Well, man, listen, we, on behalf of all of us here at Camp Nathanael, man, thank you so much for spending just a couple of weeks here and helping get the gospel to the community around here. Camp does a great job, and we're always excited to partner with other ministries, and we're just excited to see where God continues to take this particular ministry, and it's a privilege of ours to be able to partner with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's it for this time. I think we're gonna get to some camp stuff here pretty soon.
We're getting ready to talk about some camp stuff.
We are. So stick around. We'll be back in just a second. You got the Voice of Camp Nathanael.
All right, we've reached the part of the program now where we are going to talk about some ministries here at camp, and it's summertime.
It is.
It is summertime, and
it is. Whoa! It's June.
It is June.
Wow, crazy.
All the things getting hot out. So with all of that, guys, we are 1 month away from what could be arguably one of the biggest things that happens at camp, one of the biggest events.
Guaranteed, man. It is almost family camp time.
Family camp.
Now you might be thinking, what is this family camp you speak of? I thought your summers were all about a bunch of kids coming and hanging out every week and yada yada and having a great time. But no, camp isn't just for students.
Just for kids.
It's not just for kids, man. We've actually got a full week devoted to families. And that means that for those that register, and by the way, registration for this thing actually started January 1st.
It did.
Yeah. And when we filled up, when we maxed out capacity?
When did it finish?
By like 2 p.m. on January 2nd. That's how, this is a hard ticket to get, man, apparently.
It really is.
So listen, hey, we're telling you that to tell you this. If you are local, if you live within reasonable driving distance to Camp Nathanael, guess what? You're still invited to come and hang out with us at family camp. You can still come and be part of everything that's going on July the 2nd through the 6th, just a month away, and you can commute and be part of family camp.
It is. It's coming up.
If
you're curious to what family camp involves, if you can close your eyes and picture this, but if you're driving right now, please don't. Please be safe on the road, guys.
Yes.
The policeman will not accept that the voice of Camp Nathanael told you to close your eyes. They will not accept that as an excuse. So, but if you were able, close your eyes, and I want you to picture all of those fond memories that you have of growing up and going to camp.
Yep.
Horseback riding, shooting bows and arrows, climbing tower, all of it. Just all the bonfires, the music, the amazing food, all of the different things that you picture when you're coming to camp. And imagine you can bring your entire family there.
And you know what the amazing thing is? Not joking here.
What?
All right, don't call me a liar.
All right. What you got?
Free.
Free.
Completely free. Does not cost you a thing. You bring the whole family. You can get involved. Like we said, there's no more room for people to stay on campus. All that's been taken care of and reserved. But you can commute. You and your family can come. You can eat 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can come be part of everything, sign up for activities, go swimming. It's going to be an amazing time, and you can do every bit of it for free. And we've got an awesome Pete Yeomans, Pastor Pete Yeomans with Davidson Baptist Church is our keynote speaker for the week.
He's been on this podcast before.
He has been on this podcast. In fact, he was on the first podcast in this new format back in February.
If you haven't heard it yet, you can go back a few episodes and find the ones that say Pete.
I see what you did there. That was good.
You got to go.
Way to get those backtracking.
It's a small plug.
Way to go, man. So Pete's going to be speaking, Pastor Pete, there in our main sessions. There'll be sessions in the morning hours as well as into the evening hours. And we've even got special programs lined up for the kids and some time and got activities for them involved to be involved when we're doing those programs as well, those services. Man, it is going to be an awesome time. And you know what? One of the best things is not just the food. Okay, we'll talk. We talk about the food.
The food
Family camp food is absolutely amazing. Everybody eats so well, and we're talking huge. Every meal is huge. Every meal is huge. But here's the thing:
the kitchen really doesn't stop the entire.
No,
week.
It really doesn't, man. It is absolutely crazy, but it's a great time. Now, here's the thing: July the 2nd through the 6th. Well, I know what some people are thinking right out of the gate. They're hearing those dates and they're thinking, well, but what about
fireworks?
What about fireworks on the 4th of July? Well, guess what? You want to tell them?
There's fireworks.
We got those too. That's exactly right. A couple of years ago, we started the tradition of having our own fireworks show on the campus of Camp Nathanael on the 4th of July. So those who come to family camp, not only do you get free food, not only do you get a great place to sit down with your family and the kids can just kind of run around and play and have a great time, but man, it is the most laid back, cool atmosphere when you're sitting out on the main lawn here at Camp Nathanael and you're watching fireworks go up on the 4th of July, just surrounded by people who are just excited to be there, and nobody's, you know what the best thing about this is? Nobody's running around throwing fireworks at you like they are in other public places.
Yeah, no. The other side of this, when you say, oh, well, Camp Nathanael has fireworks, is it just some of those little fireworks?
No, man. No. We're talking
these are some full grade.
We're talking top-notch stuff here.
Good fireworks.
Yes, indeed. So, guys, listen, we would love for you to just go ahead and just map out those days to join us next month for family camp. That's July the 2nd through the 6th, right here on the campus of Camp Nathanael here in Emmelina, Kentucky.
All right. We'll see you all. We'll see you all. We'll talk to you all, not see you, because this is a podcast. We can't actually see. I was about to say we'll see you in a couple weeks. But
let me say this though. If you want more information, on family camp, just go to campnathanael.org/family camp, and you can get a little bit more info there.
Details. We'll have schedules, all that good stuff on there.
I sure hope so. We'll see. Yeah. Good deal, man. Well, that wraps us up for another week, does it not? Or another edition of the Voice of Camp Nathanael?
Another couple weeks here. So we'll talk to you all soon. And thanks so much for jumping in with us. And hopefully we'll get to see some of you all in person at family camp.
All right, guys. Have a great week, and we'll see you back in on the 15th.
Yep. See you all soon.